Again, I want to have special thanks to our Travel Advisory Committee. Every year we get together, we talk about, what people have enjoyed, what people, maybe want to explore more of. So this is how we determine what the itinerary is going to be for the most part. Just walk right in front of me, Nancy. This is how we determine, oh, thank you. Sure. So, people are very good about, sharing their information, the trips that they've been with other groups, or places that they've gone to in the past and would like to go to again. So thanks to the committee for helping us out every year. Also thanks to the current travelers, because when people come on day trip tours with us, we do send them an evaluation survey after each trip, and we really appreciate the feedback and comments that we get, because that again helps us to design the trips so that they are better and more of what you're looking for. Safety first. So we are really, of course, now looking at safety, not only for maintenance for our buses, but also for health reasons. And last year as well, we made sure that we chose the motor coach companies that did a very good job of intensive disinfecting of their equipment and their buses. And so all of the motor coaches we have been using are from Aero Stagecoaches and from Windstar. And they both have fresh air exchanges every 10 minutes, which is actually more thorough than you would find on an airplane. So it's going through the filters and things on the bus. The bus drivers are highly trained, they're very professional. If you've traveled with us, sometimes you see them back out of some pretty precarious situations, like when they go down to gravel road, they're like, whoa. Yeah. So we're really very fortunate to have a choice, and we don't just choose on price. We don't just choose which motor coach company we're going to use just merely on price. It's about the bus drivers, it's about the equipment that they have available at the time, and so forth. But these are the two companies that we use. Right now, and we have a lot of questions about this, vaccinations are not required, but they are recommended. In my opinion, they are recommended, and they're the best thing that you can do right now to stay safe. So if you're not vaccinated, it would be great if you would wear a mask, but that is also not required. But we still like to tell everybody to have masks on hand. We usually have them in the motor coach as well, because you just never know. We might go into a restaurant, you might go into a shop or a venue, a theater, where they will require you to have a mask. So we want to make sure that everybody has one just in case. But it is a personal preference. And I think everybody is pretty responsible, and I truly think that 90% plus of us are vaccinated, from the people that I've spoke to. All of our venues are safe. We try to make sure that they are safe and follow whatever public health guidelines and local restrictions there are at the time. And that can vary, of course, depending on the state we're in, because sometimes we do cross borders. Run for the border. Okay, so this is something new this year, and this was something that did come out of the committee, and they said, hey, it would be great. We think, for the most part that, the pace of the itineraries are good, and we know, but, we'd like to kind of have an activity level. So we developed the sneaker icon. So if you have one sneaker that is assigned to the trip, you're going to see, well, that's probably very little walking. Maybe you're at a theater, you're just, a lot of sitting, very little walking. So if you have two sneakers, that's minimal walking, and there also would be options along the way to sit down while you were walking and doing a tour. There would be a place to sit down, there might be golf carts or different vehicles to take you around. So that's kind of in the middle. And then, of course, the 3-sneaker tour would be considerable walking, sitting, standing, maybe some stairs might be involved. So, if it's a 3-sneaker, just, make sure you rest up before you go on that one. So, another thing that I wanted to cover before we start off here is the registration levels. So we do have 3 levels, and member and non-member, and we do like to give, of course, a discount to our Seniors on the Move members, so they will get a discounted pricing on the tours. And then something even to further discount your tours, if you travel with us a lot, we have kind of a frequent traveler club called the Day Tripper Club member. So if you're a Seniors on the Move member, you travel with us a lot, you may find when you sit down and do the numbers that it more than pays for itself to be a Day Tripper Club member, and I'll talk more about that. The membership does give you the lowest registration fees on the tours, on all the tours. It gives you something we call trip assurance, so you can basically cancel at any time, and then there's no admin fees for late cancels. Which if you didn't have this, then there would be, and I'll cover that too later, but that, you know, if you're canceling late, then we sometimes have to do an admin fee. Yeah, I can do that, sure. Okay. Another thing is that you earn Day Tripper miles throughout the year. So what we're going to do this year is that you will earn miles on, if you're a Day Tripper Club member, you earn miles on every single trip you take. And as we go through, you will see that for certain trips, you get more miles than other trips, and then you accumulate those trips, and then you can use those trips anytime during the year, as long as they're used up by the end of the calendar year, and use those to redeem on money off of future trips or merchandise. So things like our apparel, or Seniors on the Move apparel, or we have luggage tags, neck wallets, you know, all kinds of things like that. So you can also use them towards that. Okay, I think that's it. So should we start? All right. Okay, here is our first trip, and I have to get my little notes out here. And like I said, everyone will get one of these at the end of the presentation. But Just Desserts is the name of the show at Circa 21. This first trip is Wednesday, April 13th. We have been to Circa 21 many times, and it is a request of our members that we go at least once every year because there's always fabulous shows. It's a fabulous experience, and we expect this to also be the same. Circa 21, for those of you who are not familiar with the venue, is a historic 1920s theater. It's in Rock Island, Illinois, so we do have to cross the river for this. Just Desserts is a musical comedy, and I'm going to read what it says right here about the show. It's sweet, it's savory, it's 5 strangers putting their hearts, reputations, and baking skills on the line to become the creme de la creme of bakers at a county fair. There's a little mystery, a little romance, some potential cheating, and some backstabbing. Exactly what you would expect when the competition is fierce and the results are deliciously satisfying. So that's about the show. They have a performing wait staff that will serve us our lunch. Dessert, of course we'll get dessert at Just Desserts. And for those of you that like drinks, you can see a couple of our members down there having a Brandy Alexander and Grasshopper at the last show we went to. So that's always an option as well. On our way there, we will stop for a morning tour in Davenport, and that will be at the German American Heritage Center in Davenport. And we were there some years ago, but time to go back. So as you can see, for all these tours, down on the right-hand corner, we'll have the prices for members, non-members, and Day Tripper Club members. And those will all be listed here and on the individual forms as well. Club members will earn 75 Day Tripper miles for this tour. So if you go on the trip, then that will be credited to your account, the 75 miles. Next, Tuesday, everybody's good. Tuesday, May 10th, 75. So Marion Murder Mystery Tour, and this is you can see it's a 2-sneaker tour. So we will go to the beautiful town of Marion, Iowa, and the Granger House Victorian Museum here is kind of might be haunted, I don't know. But it's an option for you while you're uptown in the beautiful area to shop and go through the Artway. That you can also do the tour of the Victorian Museum. We'll have lunch at the Goldfish Eatery. And then our Murder Mystery Theater will be at the Giving Tree Theater. So the Murder Mystery performance will be there. And it's really kind of a unique theater. They took out all the seats, so there aren't normal theater seats, but there are some tables and chairs but there are mostly things like couches and comfy overstuffed chairs and places to sit. And that's where they will serve you, and that's where you'll watch the performance from. And of course, this is interactive, so gotta figure out who done it. After we figure out who done it, then we're gonna jump on the bus and we're gonna go through Low Park and the amphitheater, and that's what that is right down there on the bottom. A very beautiful area. And then Nancy insists that we have a mystery treat stop at the end of this tour. Something she kind of likes.
We know, of course.
Ice cream. It says mystery, but we all know Nancy, so it's ice cream. So anyway, those are the prices there, and you can see that the Day Tripper Club members for this one is $100, and they will earn 50 Day Tripper miles on this trip. Wednesday, June 22nd. This is something we've not done before, but we did have some recommendations for this type of a tour, the Underground Railroad Tour. It's a 3-sneaker tour. And, as you know, the Underground Railroad was neither underground nor a railroad, but it was, a network of loosely connected safe havens for slaves on their journey to freedom. And, we will learn all about the different areas through Iowa that were able to help out and the people that were there to do this. And that's Reverend Todd and his congregational church. So there are not just only houses, there were churches, and there were all kinds of places along the way. So we will start having our tour at the Jordan House, which is right here in West Des Moines. And that is also, one of the stops. Lunch and Tabor at the actual congregational church of Reverend Todd.
Is that
tour
a
of
town?
the Todd House.
Yeah, is Tabor a town?
Tabor is a town, yes. That's a Tabor. That's a Tabor. That's a town in southwest Iowa. Mm-hmm. So then the actual Hitchcock House is in Lewis, Iowa, I believe. So I have a tour of these venues, and I really don't know what the Ferry House is. Nancy put that on the tour, and I don't know what the Ferry House is, but we'll figure it out. It's got to be something interesting, right? So keep your interest. And for that one, it is $95 for Day Tripper Club members. 50 miles will be earned. Thursday, July 14th, the French Connection Tour. This is also a 3-sneaker tour in July. We will start by, again, going to the southwest and touring the 1852 French Icarian village. And there they will, not only give us a tour, but also serve us a French continental breakfast. And this is in Corning, Iowa. And Corning is the site of this experimental communal living settlement by French immigrants here. And it was a movement that started, I think, like down in Louisiana, and then it came up here. And Corning was the area in Iowa where this experiment started. We'll also visit the Nodaway Valley Historical Museum, and then also venture to Clarinda to the Carnegie Art Museum, which is beautiful. I think we're also going to pass by Johnny Carson's birthplace, and then also have a little tour of Glenn Miller birthplace, home and museum. And this will be fun because I know some of you probably all know Glenn Miller. I remember very fondly, my mother was a big fan, and she used to make me dance to this and Lawrence Welk and all this stuff when I was little. So I really love Glenn Miller too. And that's $105 for the Day Tripper Club members, and they get 50 Day Tripper miles for that. It ends with the floating vineyard. Oh, I missed that. I'm gonna have to add that on there. Okay, Nancy says it ends in the floating vineyard. Now I really want to go. Okay. All right. August, we have 2 tours. Because this has been very popular in the past, we went ahead and we scheduled out 2 dates. So they're a week apart, August 4th or August 11th. You could choose from either. And this is Iowa Falls Scenic Empress Tour. This is going to be a little bit different than in the past, so if you went before, you'll get to do some different things this time. We're going to start at the Ellsworth Equestrian Center with a little education. So that's Ellsworth Community College. They have the Equestrian Center where we'll have a tour. Then we'll split the group in half, and half people will go on the tour, and half people will get some education all about drones and how they're used, particularly in agriculture. And then they'll switch around and do the opposite. So you get to do both of those. After that, we go to the boat. So we're going to the riverboat, the Scenic Empress, and that will be a luncheon cruise. And so we will get to eat as we cruise up and down the river. And after we're finished with that, then we get off the boat, and then we have a community theater comedy. It's kind of a little mini comedy that will be performed for us. And then we'll have an option to do some different things, and you can kind of choose what you want to do. If you don't want to do any of them, you don't have to do any of them. If you just want to shop, relax, you can do that. But otherwise, there'll be a clothing trunk show, a presentation on how to identify valuable antiques, quilting demonstration. Then someone will also talk about the ins and outs of coffee. It's $100 for DayTripper Club members, 50 DayTripper miles. And here's our first overnight. So we're waiting for it, right?
Yes.
This is a one night overnight, and this is a Nordic overnight adventure to Decorah. We've got 2 sneakers on this one. This should be really fun. It'll be Wednesday to Thursday, September 7th through the 8th, so right after Labor Day. So we will start at the Biley Clocks Museum. I've not been there personally, but I've heard some fabulous things about it, and that they have some really incredible pieces there to see. So that's in Spillville, Iowa, but we will start there on our way into Decorah and take a look at that. We'll have lunch in the Landing Market, and then we will also have a tour of the Vesterheim Norwegian American Museum, because as the title indicates, it's all things Nordic, all things Scandinavian in this area, which they call the Driftless area, and we'll learn more about that as well. We'll be staying our overnight accommodations in the Hotel Winnesheek, which is a very, very nice elite hotel downtown. And I did send Deborah up there, and she checked it out and said it's beautiful. And again, I like to thank the staff, because I did send them all around to check all these places out. And so they're the ones that come back with the ideas and the thumbs up or the thumbs down. We'll have a group dinner that night at the Toppling Goliath Brewery. That's what it says. And then the next day we'll be going to Seed Savers. We'll have 3 tours. One is Seed Savers, and they basically are the stewards of America's culturally diverse and endangered garden and food crop legacy. So we'll learn how they collect seeds, regenerate them, share them with people, and they have a lot of stories to tell as well. We'll go to the Decorah Fish Hatchery. That's where we're likely to see some of those famous Decorah eagles. And then we'll end the day with a tour of Laura Ingalls Wilder Museum. So this was the site of, I guess it's the only existing site now of one of her childhood homes.
Yeah, that's where my granddaughter, they went
Yeah.
up that area and they were just going through.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful area. So we're looking forward to exploring that. So this is an overnight adventure, and the pricing is up here on the right. Club members will get 125 DayTripper miles awarded for this tour if you go on it. For the overnight tours, you have to only provide a deposit to reserve your spot. So for the other trips, you have to pay for the whole thing for it to be totally secure and reserved. Otherwise, you go on the wait list and the order received. But for the overnights, you just have to give us a deposit, and then your spot is safe until that full payment date. For this trip, the deposit is only $100. So if you're interested in this, keep that in mind. September 20th. So we wanted to put in another tour for September that wasn't an overnight, in case you're just looking for a day trip. And so we have our Fall Harvest Tour, Tuesday, September 20th. It's a 2-sneaker tour. And we'll be going to Bloomsbury Farm, which is over it's in Atkins. It's near the Cedar Rapids area. It's a 6th-generation agribusiness farm. It's filled with much more than I could even list here, and there's more details here in all the registration forms. But there are sunflower fields and mazes and hayrack rides and all kinds of games to play and animals and, you know, obviously food and markets and a rock shop and just a really, really fun day. And there'll be a luncheon served there in the big picnic barn. So we'll have several hours to enjoy that farm and all that it has to offer. And then as we head back, we'll stop at another farm, because, you know, one farm is just not enough. And it will be, you know, time for apple picking, prime time. So we stop at Appleberry Farm, which is near Marshalltown, and you'll be able to pick apples there, or there'll be some that are pre-picked and you can just buy them as well. Caramel apples, apple cider, the whole 9 yards. So it'll be a fun day out on the farm. Club members will get 50 day tripper miles for this trip. All right, here's another kind of a repeat trip that we've done in the past, and everybody is always raves about the trips to the villages of Van Buren. So that's why we went ahead and scheduled 2 right off the bat. So we have Tuesday, October 4th or Tuesday, October 18th. It's a double sneaker tour. And we did want to, you know, try to do a little bit something different. So this time, what we're doing is making sure that there are weaving, pottery, and blacksmith demonstrations that will be available. And we also have hands-on class options. So your registration, materials, and everything will cover hands-on classes in any of these 3 that you choose, if you choose. If you don't choose to do a class, you don't have to. But for those that do, you can either do the horsehair pottery, watercolor painting, or woodsmithing, and obviously you'll get to take whatever you make home with you. We will also have a tour and lunch at Hotel Manning, which is in Keosauqua, a beautiful old historic hotel. You know, there are all the shops and the rose gardens, and, you know, there's just plenty to do there. So even if you don't do the hands-on classes, you will not be bored. You will have plenty to do, and it's a beautiful area, and it will be a beautiful time of the year as well. So I'm sure you will be going to the Lacey Keosauqua State Park to see some fall foliage. Oh, and we're going to stop at the Dutchman's store. So get your shopping list ready. This is a wonderful, wonderful, huge Mennonite store that's always very popular. And I just can't believe the deals, right? And things that they have, and the cheese curds, and all kinds of things.
They had talked about building a new store that would be outside of town.
Oh.
Still be the old store?
You know, as far as I know right now, it's still the old store, so we'll find out. Yeah. So for that trip, for Day Trippers Club, it is $100, and 50 Day Tripper miles are earned for that tour. Yay! That's right, we're going to Tennessee. So that is why any of you are former school teachers and know that this is the state flag of Tennessee. That is why we are wearing these today. The secret is revealed. So this is our last tour for the year, and it will be a long tour, something that we have done in the past. Tennessee Trailblazing Tour. Sunday to Friday, it'll be a week long. November 6th to the 11th, a 3 sneaker tour. 6 days, 5 nights. You will include 5 breakfasts, a lunch, 4 dinners, obviously all the transportation, all the lodging, all the guided tours, all included in this. So our first, yes.
What's the date of that again?
You'll get it on here. It's
Because I think it coincides with the election.
No, yeah, you'll have to vote before you go. November 6th to the 11th. The first stop is in St. Charles, Missouri. So here are overnight accommodations. We'll be at the Embassy Suites. And when we arrive, we'll be able to check into the Embassy Suites, take a trolley down to Main Street, and then really just shop, relax by the river, whatever you want to do, until later in the evening when we have a cocktail reception and a group dinner down in the historic district at a restaurant called Tony's. Is that correct? Tony's. And Nancy has been down to check that out. And very, very lovely, charming town. If you haven't been there, that will be our first stop. Because obviously we can't make it to Tennessee all in one day, right? Well, it wouldn't be fun anyway. So day 2, when we do head south to Tennessee, we will have one stop along the way here, and this will be at the Daniel Boone home, and this is Defiance, also Missouri. We'll have a morning guided tour there. That is Daniel Boone's home, and actually where he passed away. And they'll also have a tour where you can explore the Boone Village. So the home is the actual home, but what they've also done is take period pieces like churches, stores, things of that nature from that era, and they've made a little village down below the home, so you can go down and explore that as well. And then down the road we go to our destination, which is Franklin, Tennessee. Franklin, Tennessee is, America's main street, I guess. A 16-block historic district. It's centered by a town square, beautiful architecture, so much more than history, but there is so much history here in this little town and the surrounding area. It is just south of Nashville. Plenty of shops and restaurants, so many things. We'll again have our accommodations at the Embassy Suites. And just one thing about, I think just a little bit about the history of Franklin. For those of you that don't know, it was in 1864. It was a small town of like 750 people in Franklin. And the Battle of Franklin was here. It was said to be like the bloodiest Civil War battle of all times. Really a part of history that defined America. And so we'll learn a lot about that, as well as exploring the fun things here in town. One of our tours would be at the Carton Plantation. And the Battle of Franklin Trust is a nonprofit organization that does some wonderful tours and really a good job of explaining the history and what it meant to the town and what it meant to the country. So we will be touring that in the morning. And then they will be setting up a private luncheon for us in their gallery, right there on site. There's a cemetery on site, a lot of grounds to see of where the battle actually took place. And you'll learn about the owners of this plantation and what their role was in the whole era. Franklin on foot. So when we go into the town of Franklin, we will have guided tours on foot. So there I go, 3 feet, 3 sneaker tour, which you wouldn't have to do if you didn't want to, but it will be very, very enlightening to hear all the stories of the city, and also to kind of discover all of the little local gems. Here's where this restaurant was, here's where this happened and that happened, and here's where you sometimes see a ghost in the window, and so all kinds of cool things. This up here in the middle where the square is, you can see that little monument to the left that's sticking straight up. They call it a square, but it's a circle. I don't get that. They call it a square. So it's, it's some kind of a monument, a statue of someone, and they call him Chip. And I shouldn't give this away because if you go on the tour, this is part of it. But so why do they call him Chip? Well, I guess when they were erecting this statue in the town, he fell. And it chipped his hat. So it's like, well, what are we going to do? They just put him up with a chipped hat and they named him Chip.
Kim,
Yes.
if it's still in war, they may have it torn down by then.
No, not this one. Not this one. The Natchez Trace Trail, we will be obviously on the bus going through the Natchez Trace, which is a national park, spans 444 miles in 3 different states, 10,000 years of history. Very, very cool area. General Andrew Jackson, Meriwether Lewis, Jefferson Davis, Ulysses S. Grant, some of the famous Americans to have traveled this. We will be able to stop and get out, and I'm not going to let anyone walk across this bridge, although you could. I'm not going to let you. I'd be too frightened. But there is kind of an overlook where you can see this bridge, and we will be driving over it. So really a very famous arched bridge, part of the park. And while we're out in that area, we'll be going to Leaper's Fork. So Leaper's Fork is a really cool rustic area, kind of a one-lane town. It's got all kinds of shops and just down-home restaurants. Very, very cool. And this is where they say, even in Franklin, this is true. A lot of the celebrities, both music, like, I don't know, actors, actresses, they all seem to like to come back to Tennessee, and they live in this Williamson County area. And so it's not uncommon to see, maybe Dolly Parton's gonna be down there, or maybe, some celebrity sightings in the area of Leapers Fork or Franklin. So they do like to be left alone though, so if you're with us and you see them, please do not accost them. And while we're there in Leapers Fork, obviously we have to go to see the Leapers Fork Distillery. And we will get a tour, perhaps a cocktail making class. We will get to find out why Tennessee is so well known for its whiskeys and bourbons. So I did go check this place out.
Research.
And it's great. You're gonna love it, And so I did a little tasting, and I will say I'm not a big fan of whiskey, but I tried it. But it's just really fascinating, the process and just the history behind the whole thing. So I think you're gonna enjoy that one for sure. And then after that, while we're on a theme, we'll go to Arrington Vineyards. And this is so incredibly beautiful. I mean, the Tennessee countryside in itself is gorgeous. But this is 75 acres in what they call Tennessee's own wine country. It's owned by Kix Brooks of Brooks and Dunn, whom I had no idea who was, but my friend who's very into country music is like, really, Kim? Seriously? So it's gorgeous, and we'll be able to go up there and relax and taste some of the wines, and they often will have music going on at the same time, depending on the day. Because music is obviously a big part of this area. Food, as well as food. Food and music. So, there's just too many things to list. We'll have time on our own. We'll have group tours, live music. The restaurants are incredible. If you see this up here in the middle, that's something that I had never encountered before. It's called Meat and Three. So, you sit down at the diner and they're like, okay, it's lunchtime, and the place is packed. Well, our special today for Meat and Three is that, I'm like, meat and what? Meat and three sides, yes. And, a choice of meat and 3 sides. So, could get a meat and 2, but it's just not the same. And wonderful desserts. So, the food, your fried green tomatoes, your shrimp gumbo, your so many good things there from the local cuisine. And eventually we have to leave. On our final way home, our overnight stop coming back will be in Springfield, Illinois. So kind of with staying in the era, we will be lodging downtown, and we will have a group dinner at Mall Dinners, which is one of the oldest restaurants on Route 66. And the next morning we'll have a tour of Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum, a tour of the Lincoln Home, and then follow that up with lunch, because this is definitely, Springfield's claim to fame, and this is the land of Lincoln. So there are the trips for the pricing for the tours. You can see right away that if you want to do any traveling with us, it's probably a good idea to become a DayTripper Club member. This tour, you will earn 500 DayTripper miles, and you can reserve your spot with $350, and that will save your spot. And I think the final day for payment, those are, the final payment dates are all included in here, but that wouldn't be for a while. So it's usually about 90 days out.
How do you redeem your trips when this trip is in November?
You can
By the end of the year?
You can redeem it on merchandise, or you could redeem it on, we would have the rollouts for the coming year, so you could redeem it on 2023 trips.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Okay.
Yeah, just like today, if you have miles today, you can redeem them on any of these trips if you want to. Okay, just a little bit then about the logistics here, about payment and cancellations. Obviously, we are going to, here's my clue. We are going to have all the registration forms out around on the tables, and they'll be labeled. So if you are someone that likes to look at paper, write it down, do that. You can hand it in to us. You can just hand them all in to us and say, I want all of these, and here's my credit card, or I want all of these, and call me later for payment, whatever. Or if you just want to go on the wait list, you can do that too. So you can pay with cash, check, credit card. You can also do this online, but none of these trips will be live online until after our second session tomorrow afternoon. The registrations are confirmed with full payment, and anything that's unpaid goes on the wait list in the order received. So if you really want to make sure you have a spot on the tour, then you need to have full payment. Overnight trips, like I said, are the exception, and then with the tour deposit that's required for each trip, that would secure your spot, and you would not be on the wait list, but you would be on the real list. One-day trip registrations are 100% refundable up to 60 days prior to the tour. So you're like, I think I want to go. I want to make sure I have a spot. If you pay and you decide later within that time frame, 100% refundable, your money back. If it's 60 days or less from the tour, we will credit your registration fee less a 50% admin fee, because obviously we have to pay for a lot of these things ahead of time, and so we've already put the money out, so that's why we have to come up with some kind of a deadline date for the tours. So it is 60 days for the one-day trips. Overnight tour registrations, again, secure with your deposit only up until the full payment due date, which is around 90 days. The registrations for overnight tours are also 100% refundable. That would be including the deposit if you are canceling up to 90 days prior to the tour date. Anything 90 days or less from the tour date will forfeit your deposit, but then that remaining balance would just be credited less an admin fee. Obviously, there are health reasons, there are emergencies, and I think people will tell you that I'm fairly accommodating for those things, and I try to be understanding, and so I do take those on a case-by-case basis if something were to happen. And we did add this year, no show, no refund. So if you don't show up, you just gotta call. You gotta call. If you don't show up at all and don't call us, then you don't get your money back. Sorry. And so again, DayTripper Club membership. This is where this really becomes important, because if you're going to do any amount of travel with us, this does assure that you can cancel at any time and you do not have to pay any admin fees.
What's
so
the
you would
cost
get
of the
full
day trip?
credit. Funny that you should ask. For 2022, it's $149 a year, but if you pay by January 1st, it's $135. And you will also get one of these handy dandy neck wallets for travel. If you are a current DayTripper member, and you were a DayTripper member in 2021, and you pay by January 1st, it's only $125. So we're just encouraging people to set it up now, because obviously the sooner you get it set up, the sooner you'll be able to benefit from that. So one thing, you do need to be a Seniors on the Move member to join the DayTripper Club. And it's not for everyone, but you can sit down and you can put the numbers, pencil to paper, and a lot of people will say, hey, yeah, if I'm going to go on this trip, this trip, and this trip, it really does make sense. Please do so. If you have any questions, ask us. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.